Hi, this is Jamie. I have 3 books for you today. 2 are about dogs, and 1 is about a fly. Let's start with the dog book. It's called The Adventures of Taxi Dog, and it's written by Deborah and Sal Baraka, and the pictures are done by Mark Booner. Let's get started. My name is Maxie. I ride in a taxi around New York City all day. I sit next to Jim. I belong to him, but it wasn't always that way. I grew up in the city, all dirty and gritty, looking for food after dark. I roamed all around, avoiding the pound, and lived on my own in the park. One day a car stopped. Its tire had popped. Out stepped a tall man I could see. He came over and said as he patted my head, "Are you lost? You can come home with me." Did I hear right? Oh boy, my tail wagged with joy. I jumped right up on the seat. He said, "My name is Jim." I could ride home with him, and he'd give me some good food to eat. I ate and I ate. I cleaned the whole plate. Then Jim took a scarf of bright red. He tied it around me, so glad that he found me, and he kissed me on top of my head. My wish had come true. I would start a life anew. At last I had a warm home with someone to love me and take good care of me. No longer would I have to roam. Jim said, "Your name is Maxie. You'll ride in my taxi. We'll ride all over the town. We'll see all the sights, all the streets and the lights. We'll go riding uptown and down. To the hospital quick, my wife is quite sick," cried a man as we stopped for a light. "Our baby is due," and like lightning we flew. We made it in time. What a night. Sometimes when it's slow, to the airport we go. We get in line at the stand to wait for a fare, and a hot dog we share while we watch the planes take off and land. The door opened wide. Guess who jumped inside? 2 clowns and a chimp they called Murray. We're performing at 8, and our flight came in late to the circus, and please try to hurry. At the end of each day, when we've earned our pay, we drive the cab back to its spot, where our boss named Lou says, "Hi, how do you do? Have a biscuit." He likes me a lot. It's just like a dream, me and Jim. We're a team. I'm always there at his side. We never stand still. Every day's a new thrill. Come join us next time for a ride. That was a cute story about a dog that was in a taxi. The next book is called There's a Fly Guy in My Soup, and it's written by Ted Arnold. A boy had a pet fly. He named him Fly Guy, and Fly Guy could say the boy's name. Buzz. Chapter 1. One day, Fly Guy went with Buzz, Mom, and Dad on a long trip. They drove until dinner time, and they stopped at a hotel. "Yay," said Buzz. "I love hotels." "Cool room," said Buzz. "Time for dinner," said Dad. "There's a nice restaurant downstairs," said Mom. "But Fly Guy can't go there." "Fly Guy can eat outside," said Buzz. "Right, Fly Guy?" "Yes." Fly Guy flew outside. He found a trash can He found a puddle, and he found a sticky spot. He found the biggest, slimiest garbage can ever. But he didn't find anything that he wanted to eat. Chapter 2. Then Fly Guy smelled something wonderful. Fly Guy followed the smell, and at last he found where he wanted to eat. Oops, messy. Fly Guy needed to wash before dinner. He spied a small round bathtub with a warm brown water. Perfect. Fly Guy jumped in. He washed his face and hands. He washed his armpits. He washed between his toes. Chapter 3. Fly Guy's bathtub was picked up and carried to another room. It was set down on a table in front of a lady. The lady screamed, "Waiter, there's a fly in my soup." The lady jumped up. Her soup and Fly Guy went flying. Into another lady's soup. That lady jumped up. Her soup and the first lady's soup and Fly Guy went flying. Onto a gentleman's head. The gentleman jumped up. The soup and Fly Guy and the gentleman's hair went flying. Everyone jumped up. Everyone's soup and Fly Guy and the gentleman's hair went flying. Fly Guy still needed a bath. Buzz, Mom, and Dad needed a bath. Everyone needed a bath. "Last one in the pool is a rotten egg," yelled Buzz. And they all jumped in the hotel pool. Hotel's funsy. Boy, that's a troublesome fly. And my last book today is also about a dog. It's called Chowder. And it's written by Peter Brown. Chowder had always been different. His owners liked to think of him as quirky, but most people thought he was just plain weird. Most dogs thought he was weird, too. Chowder wanted to be part of the neighborhood dog pack, but the more he tried to fit in, the more he stuck out. It wasn't easy being Chowder. Chowder's only real friends were his owners, Madge and Bernie Wobbington. They didn't just like their bulldog, they were downright crazy about him. "Come here, Chowder Wowder," they'd say. "It's time to put up another precious picture of you." The Wobbingtons had quite a few quirks of their own. In the beginning, Madge and Bernie treated him like a normal dog, but Chowder had better things to do than fetch newspapers or go on long walks. He and the Wobbingtons found their own unique way of doing things, and no matter what they did, the bulldog always got strange looks. The only place where Chowder didn't feel like an outsider was at home, and every weekday he had the whole apartment to himself. Madge and Bernie bought tons of dog toys to keep him company, but Chowder preferred people toys. He spent sunny days on the balcony with his favorite toy of all, Bernie's far-out stellaroscope. One afternoon, while Chowder was observing another rush-hour traffic jam, a brand-new billboard caught his eye. Chowder had been to the food ranch 100 times with the Wobbingtons. It was the king of all supermarkets. Inside were attractions like the Freezer Food Ravine and the Whoa Nelly Deli, And now there was a new petting zoo called Critter Corral. Suddenly, Chowder's brain was buzzing. All the neighborhood dogs had said Chowder belonged in a zoo, and he wondered if they were right. He couldn't wait to meet the petting zoo animals, but a week later, the Wubbingtons still hadn't gone grocery shopping. So Chowder cooked up a perfect plan and turned his usual midnight snack into a midnight feast. Madge and Bernie woke up Saturday morning with empty stomachs and an empty fridge. And just like Chowder had planned, they finally took a trip to the food ranch. The Wubbingtons pulled into the parking lot, and as soon as the car door opened, Chowder scrambled over Madge's lap and headed straight for the Critter Corral. Chowder figured this was his best chance of finding friends, and he didn't want to ruin it. He was just about to introduce himself when a red kickball rolled over to him. All he had to do was bump the ball back onto the fence, and he knew they'd invite him to play. But Chowder had never kicked the ball before. With his first clumsy swing of his paw, he launched the ball over the animals and into a tree. They heard it bounce around between the branches, and after one final boing, it was silent. The ball was stuck. They were still looking up at the tree when the Wubbingtons appeared. "Get along, little doggy," Bernie said as he scooped up his bulldog. "It's time we rustle up some grub." Before Chowder could even apologize for losing the ball, he was rolling away from the petting zoo. Chowder was not happy. Since he took up all the shopping cart space, the Wubbingtons parked their pooch in the one place they knew he'd stay put. But not even dog food could keep Chowder's mind off the petting zoo. He'd felt like such a fool out there, and he couldn't face the animals again unless he had their ball. But he was too short to climb the tree, and the food ranch didn't sell kickballs. He didn't know what to do. Chowder was feeling sorry for himself when his belly began to gurgle and groan. His midnight feast was telling him that he needed to find a toilet, so he headed upstairs to the restroom. While washing up, Chowder had a wild idea. He squeezed into the restroom window, and just as he'd hoped, he could see the kickball in the nearby tree. The bulldog mustered up the courage, and with one loud yelp, he popped out into the air. Chowder tumbled through the leaves and branches, but fell just short of the kickball. As he dangled high above the ground, Chowder realized he had no way of getting down and no way of barking for help. Just then he began to hear stomping and snorting directly beneath him. The sounds grew louder and closer, and suddenly Chowder felt something fluffy under his feet. The petting zoo animals rescued him. They did it in style. Now that Chowder had fetched the kickball, the animals were eager to play. Since he was the best kicker in the group, everyone wanted him on their team. They moved the playing field farther from the trees and spent the morning teaching him all about the game. During timeouts, Chowder showed them some of his favorite games. It was a very busy morning. When Madge and Bernie finally tracked down their bulldog, they were happy to see that he'd found some new playmates. "Say Chowder, everyone," Madge said, as she snapped a few more precious pictures for the collection. From then on, whenever the Wubbingtons went grocery shopping, they always dropped Chowder off at the Critter Corral. And even when Chowder couldn't make it to the petting zoo, he and his friends still found ways of having fun together. Hope you enjoyed those stories. See you next time.
Hello, boys and girls. My name is Jo Toll, and I'm here to read you a story today. Today I'm going to read The Misadventures of Sweetie Pie, written by Chris Van Allsburg. Let's get started. "He's so cute," squealed the pigtail girl. The hamster had heard these words before. He'd once shared his home with a dozen friends. One by one, they'd all been taken away. He was left behind because whenever a child had picked him up, he'd squirm and scratch. Today he did not put up a fight. Wherever his friends had gone, he wanted to go there too. He left the pet shop and saw for the first time the great outdoors. It was filled with sunlight and endless blue sky, with smells he'd never smelled and wind he'd never felt. In his new home, Pigtails held him constantly, asking over and over, "Aren't you my little sweetie pie?" Since it was the only time he was let out of his small cage, he pretended to like it. One afternoon, Sweetie Pie awoke to find that his cage had been moved. Something else rested in its place. Pigtails sat in front of it for hours at a time. The girl didn't ignore him completely, though. Each morning, she dropped extra large handfuls of food into his bowl. Because it was so tasty and because he had nothing else to do, he ate every bite. Many days passed this way until Pigtails brought a friend to meet Sweetie Pie. "Kind of big, isn't he?" the boy asked, holding an animal that felt more like a water balloon. "Yeah," agreed Pigtails. "He eats too much, but he's lots of fun to play with." "Is it a deal?" The boy handed over a few wrinkled bills and picked up the cage. For the second time in his life, the hamster felt the wind in his fur and smelled the great outdoors. He breathed in deeply, but was back inside before he exhaled. The boy put the cage beside his bed and left the room. Sweetie Pie heard a loud sniffing sound. The cage began to shake, then crashed to the floor. Sweetie Pie, his peanut-sized heart pounding wildly, dug out from under the wood chips and found himself facing a snarling dog. "No, Buster!" The boy ran back in the room. "He just wants to be friends," he explained to Sweetie Pie, pulling the dog away. Over the next few weeks, Buster came into the room again and again, knocking the cage to the floor and banging his wet black nose against the wire bars. Sweetie Pie was too nervous to eat, and he had bad dreams about mad dogs. He awoke from one of them when he felt his cage tilting again. This time, it was the boy carrying him to the front porch. A car stopped in front of the house. A young girl jumped out and ran up the porch steps. "Can I hold him? Can I hold him?" she asked. Cousin Sue clutched the hamster as if it was a fistful of candy. Then she carried him away. At home, Cousin Sue couldn't wait to play with her new pet. She grabbed Sweetie Pie and yanked his bony paws through the sleeves of a pink dress. "Aren't you pretty?" Sue asked, then dropped him into the dollhouse. He spun like a top, making a terrible mess. "That's not polite," she said, and tossed him back into his cage. Sweetie Pie spent the day chewing his way out of the dress. He'd just finished when Cousin Sue returned. "Look, I got a present for you." She twisted a plastic ball open, stuck Sweetie Pie inside, and ran outdoors. When she put the ball on the sidewalk, the nervous hamster clawed wildly. He shot along the sidewalk, picking up speed as he raced downhill. And this picture, as you can see, shows all the different places the hamster went inside his ball. The ball landed in a pile of leaves. Exhausted, Sweetie Pie waited for the girl to rescue him, but she never came. The sun set and the moon rose. The lonely hamster spent the night staring at the sky and the stars, wondering if he'd ever get out of his plastic prison. In the morning, he saw children playing nearby. He pawed frantically and threw himself against the ball. Slowly it began to tilt, then rolled off the pile of leaves. Sweetie Pie steered himself toward the children. When the ball came to a stop at her feet, a little girl picked it up. "Look," she said, "it's a hamster. I always wanted one of these, but my mom says no." She gazed at the hamster longingly. "I'm keeping him." At home, she snuck Sweetie Pie into her room, opened the ball, and put him in a shoebox. When her mother called, she left. Sweetie Pie's nose began to twitch. The hungry hamster smelled food. He climbed out of the box and followed the scent to the kitchen, where the girl sat eating. As he crossed the room, he heard a loud shriek. Then, bam! Something hit the kitchen floor beside him, and a rush of air sent Sweetie Pie tumbling under the table. "A rat!" the girl's mother yelled, raising her broom from another blow. The girl dropped to the floor to rescue Sweetie Pie and begged to keep him. "Not in this house," her mother answered. The next day, the girl took Sweetie Pie to school, where he became the class pet. Each morning, a different group of children would feed him and play with him, but when class began, he went back into his cage. He spent the rest of the day watching the leaves fall and the squirrels running through the trees. Occasionally, one of the bushy-tailed animals came and sat on the windowsill. The squirrel watched closely as the children opened and closed the cage. The hamster wondered if the squirrel was laughing at him. A silly little animal turned into a plaything for children. When holiday vacation began, Sweetie Pie left with a boy who'd asked to take care of him. On his way home, the boy stopped at the playground with his friends. The hamster wondered how long the boy would play. He curled into a ball. He loved being outdoors, but was not used to the cold. When he finally looked around, Sweetie Pie saw the boy had left and that something strange was falling from the sky. Can you see what's falling from the sky? Yep, it's snow. Before long, a blanket of white covered the wood chips in his cage. The sky got darker and the air grew colder. His teeth rattled and Sweetie Pie suddenly felt bone tired. He wished he could stop shaking. Soon his wish was granted. The hamster became still. His eyes closed and he fell into a deep and frigid sleep. After vacation, the children came back to school and saw the empty cage. The boy who'd left Sweetie Pie at the playground described, with tears rolling down his cheeks, how he'd run back through the snow the next morning. He found the cage with its door open and no sign of the hamster. The teacher explained that someone must have rescued him. "I'm sure," she said, "a nice little boy or girl is taking care of him." The children knew better. Their forgetful classmate probably left the cage unlatched. The hamster had escaped and was now buried underneath a snowdrift, frozen stiff as a popsicle. This made them very sad. But not for long. The next week, a guinea pig one of the children received for Christmas moved into Sweetie Pie's old cage. By the time spring arrived, all the children, except one, had forgotten about Sweetie Pie. The boy who'd left him outside could not stop worrying that with the snow melted, the hamster's body would be discovered. During recess, he could not keep his eyes from searching beneath bushes and dry leaves. Where could Sweetie be? Had the boy looked up instead of down, he would have found the answer. High above the playground, a pair of squirrels moved through quickly through the trees. They crawled into a leaf-filled hollow made warm by their friends who were nestling there. The squirrels cracked off pieces of acorn with their sharp teeth and shared the food with their small, tailless comrade. It was not as tasty as the food he'd had when he was younger, but looking out of the nest with his friends right behind him and the children 30 feet below, with no bars between him and the deep blue sky, Sweetie Pie felt like the luckiest squirrel in the tree. The end.
Hello, friends. How are you today? I feel like I have not seen you all in a very long time. I haven't been able to do this. I've been busy with my own life, my own children, and all of the things. So I hope that you had a great end of the school year, because I haven't seen you since then. And I hope that you've had a wonderful summer, because now, on this day that I'm recording, my children and I'm a teacher in my real life, we start school next week. Oh, I can't believe it. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Are you ready? I bet you're saying no. That's what I think. Your moms are saying yes, but I bet you're saying no. But so welcome back. Welcome back to Storytime. I have 2 books for you to read today. The first book that I have is named Elmer, and the author is David McKee. And David is the author and the illustrator. So remember, that means he wrote the words and drew all the pictures. You're really going to like the pictures in this book. Are you ready? Let's go. There was once a herd of elephants. Elephants young, elephants old, elephants tall and short, fat and thin. All were different, but all were happy, and almost all were the same color. Do you know what color elephants are? Gray, right? We think. All except Elmer. Elmer was not elephant color. He was patchwork. Elmer was yellow and orange and red and pink and purple and blue and green and black and white. Can you imagine seeing an elephant all of those colors? That'd be spectacular. It was Elmer who kept the other elephants happy. Their games and jokes were always his idea. And if an elephant was laughing, the cause was usually Elmer. Look at these elephants holding Elmer up in the air. Imagine holding an elephant like that. Whew, it's pretty heavy. But Elmer himself wasn't happy. Who ever heard of a patchwork elephant, he thought. No wonder they laugh at me. One morning, just as the others were waking up, Elmer slipped away. Have you ever felt like that? A little bit insecure about something? I think we all do. That's what I think. As he walked through the jungle, Elmer met other animals. Good morning, Elmer, they said. Look at the lion and the tigers and the hippo and the zebra. They all knew who Elmer was because of his beautiful patchwork. After a long walk, Elmer found what he was looking for, a large bush covered with elephant-colored berries. What do you think Elmer wants to do with those berries? Elmer caught hold of the bush and shook it until the berries fell to the ground. Why do you think he did that? Do you think he's hungry? Do you think he's going to eat the berries? Let's find out. Then Elmer lay down and rolled over on the berries this way and that way. He picked up bunches of berries and rubbed himself all over until he was covered in berry juice. When he had finished, there wasn't a sign of yellow or orange or red or pink or purple or blue or green or black or white. Elmer looked like any other elephant. Can you believe that? Elmer tried to cover up the most beautiful thing about him, his patchwork. Oh, there he is. You can't even tell. You can't even tell it's Elmer. On his way back through the jungle, Elmer passed the other animals. Good morning, elephant, they said. They didn't even know it was Elmer. They called him Elephant. They didn't call him Elmer. When Elmer rejoined the herd, none of the other elephants noticed him. What do you think Elmer thought about that? When you're looking at this picture, can you tell which one is Elmer? Although I can't tell which one it is by his color, I feel like I can tell which one is him by his face. He's looking a little uncomfortable, it seems like. As he stood there, Elmer felt that something was wrong. But what? He looked around. Same old jungle, same old blue sky, same old rain cloud, same old elephants. Everything was exactly the same. But what was different? The other elephants were standing absolutely still, silent and serious. Elmer had never seen them so serious before. It made him want to laugh. Finally, he could bear it no longer. He lifted his trunk, and at the top of his voice, he shouted, "Boo!" Oh my gosh, look what Elmer did. He scaled all the other elephants. The elephants jumped in surprise. Elmer was helpless with laughter. Then the others began to laugh. "Too bad Elmer isn't here to share the fun," they said, laughing harder and harder. Did you hear that? Even though Elmer was the one who scared them and they didn't know it was him, they were sad that Elmer wasn't there to join them. They didn't know he was there. And then the rain cloud burst. The rain fell on Elmer. His patchwork started to show. "Oh, Elmer," gasped an older elephant as Elmer was washed back to normal. Can you see all the colors fall, like all the berry juice falling off of him? "You've played some good jokes, but this has been your biggest laugh of all. What would we do without you?" Did you hear that? They just love Elmer the way he is. "We must celebrate this day every year," said another. "The day of Elmer's best joke. All of us elephants will decorate ourselves in his honor," said a third. "And Elmer will decorate himself elephant color." Oh my gosh, what do you think they're going to do? Now, one day each year, the elephants color themselves yellow or orange or red or pink or blue or purple or green or black or white and have a parade. If you happen to see an elephant in the Elmer's Day Parade who is ordinary elephant color, you will know. It must be Elmer. Look at all of these fantastic elephant paint designs that they did. We have Elmer, who's gray and looks like a boring old elephant, and these other ones look like the most fabulous parade floats I've ever seen. What do you think of that? Elmer. Cute book, right? I like that one. My kids like that one too. They still like it. All right, so my second book that I'm going to read to you is called Speak Up, Molly Lou Melon. And I know that I've read Stand Tall, Molly Lou Melon before, so you all know how much I like Molly Lou Melon. I think she's fierce, and I love a fierce little girl. So this book, again, is called Speak Up, Molly Lou Melon, and it's written by Patty Lovell, so Patty wrote the words, and illustrated by David Catrow, and that means David drew all the pictures. You ready? Speak up, Molly Lou Melon. Molly Lou Melon was a tiny little girl with a big, deep down heart. Her mom always told her, "Be true to yourself." It's good advice. So she was. Look at that. Do you see this invention that Molly made? She made an invention that scratches her dog's back. I need one of those for my dog because he would have me scratch his back all day long if he could. Molly Lou Melon tried to do the right thing in her life, but it didn't always work. Her mom told her, "Take responsibility for the things you do, good or bad." So look at that. Molly Lou Melon opened her bedroom window and all of those birds flew in. So she did. She took responsibility for her actions, and look what she did. She made a roller coaster for all the birds. Even the dog looks like he likes it. Molly Lou Melon had friends of all shapes and sizes, opinions and ideas. Her mom always told her, accept people for who they are and listen to their ideas, even if they're different from yours. Now look at this. Molly was going to paint a picture, a big canvas, but she put the canvas on the ground and let her friends paint it. And by friends, I mean her dog, her cat, her parrot, and her fish. So she did. Do you see the big portrait Molly painted on the wall? She used all the different ideas from her pet friends. Molly Lou Melon had a loud voice, and she chatted, jabbered, and gabbed all the time with her friends. Do you do too much to that? I have a daughter who never stops talking. I talk a lot too, as you can tell. Her mom always told her, you have a strong voice. Use it to speak up for anyone who might need it. Sounds like Molly Lou Melon's mom gives really good advice. So she did. Look at that. Molly is advocating for the dog and the parrot who knocked over somebody's bowl, and there's water all over the floor. In the fall, Molly Lou Melon started school again with a big yellow backpack and a huge toothy smile for all of her friends. She sat with Ronald, Durkin, and Gertie in the front row of her classroom. Bettino Bonklehead snickered at them and cooed, Molly Lou and Ronald, kissy, kissy, boyfriend, girlfriend. Ooh, was that very nice of Bettina? I don't think so. Molly Lou Melon stood up and told her, we are friends. Then she exchanged a handshake with Gertie, and Ronald. Woodle, woodle, dink, dink, chatter, chatter, waddle, too. Look at their fun handshake. Birdie does not look very happy to not be part of that handshake, does she? In the winter, Molly Lou Melon had to be project partners with Bettina Bonklehead. They accidentally painted all over the desks and not their paper. It was a little fun. Look at the mess those two made. Whew. Look at all the paint in Molly Lou Melon's hair. I mean, it's everywhere. When the teacher asked who did it, Molly Lou Melon said, me. And she had to spend recess cleaning the desks. Bettina said nothing and played a great game of pirate outside. Sounds like Molly took ownership of her mistakes and maybe Bettina didn't. Molly Lou Melon was mad at first, but then she played her own thrilling game of swabbing the desks. Well, desks. Get it? Swabbing the desks because Bettina was outside playing pirate and Molly was in there with that mop cleaning off all of the desks. Look at all the bubbles. Oh, Molly Lou Melon. I wish I had a friend like Molly Lou Melon. I bet she'd be fun. In the spring, a new boy named Garvin Grape started school. He was small, he wore glasses, and his ears stuck out. He told the class all about Newton's laws of gravity in a long speech in the front of the room. Bettina Bonklehead rolled her eyes, sneered at Gavin, and said, "Big deal," really loudly. Garvin's cheeks turned bright red, and he hung his head. That wasn't very nice, was it? Molly Lou Melon raised her hand and said, "Yes, gravity is a big deal." Oh, that Molly Lou Melon, standing up for Garvin. And then she scribbled a little note and handed it to Garvin. It read, "Welcome to our school. Nice speech. Join us on the playground at recess. We can test some gravity. Woodle, woodle, dink, dink, cha-cha, woodle doo." Signed ML for Molly Lou, G for Gertie, and RD for Ronald Durkin. Wasn't that nice? They included the new kid in their play. Look how much fun they're having. On the first day of summer, Bettina Bonklehead showed up at camp and promptly stuck her foot out, tripping Garvin Grape. Sorry about that. He crashed to the ground and his glasses went flying. Bettina grinned and chirped, "Smarty pants, looks like gravity gotcha." Ooh, that Bettina. I'm not sure how I feel about her. Molly Lou Melon caught Garvin's glasses in midair, went nose to nose with Bettina, and said, "You must never do anything like that again to my friend. Friends stand up for one another." Ooh-wee. Look at Molly Lou right in her face. And it doesn't look like Bettina is very happy about it, does it? Ronald stepped forward and so did Gertie, waving her crutch. They pulled Garvin Grape up, linked arms, and the four friends together shouted, "Woodle, woodle, dink, dink, cha-cha, waddle-doo. If you want to be a friend, it's all up to you." And look at that. Those four stuck together and are really good friends. And it looks like Bettina might be softening a little. She's petting Molly Lou's dog. Oh, and look at, now she's offering Garvin an apple. Maybe Molly Lou Melon taught Bettina a little lesson. What do you think? That is all for me. Those are the books that I have for today. I hope you like them as much as I do, because like I said, I try to pick ones that me and my family really like, hoping that you and your family will really like them. But otherwise, that's all for me. I hope you enjoy your last few days of summer. Have a wonderful school year. See you soon.